Hello, Richmond Real Producers. This is Kristen Brindley, your publisher, and I'm here with the wonderful Page Yonce. Thank you so much for being with us. We really appreciate it. If you haven't checked out his story in the July issue, make sure that you do. Or if you haven't checked out working with Page, give it a shot, because Page, 37 years in the industry, $2 billion in loans experience. You lead 8 people on your team, 8 originators. Your history and experience is vast, and I'm going to enjoy this interview. So did you always think you would be a lender? Tell us that story. How did this happen?
I didn't think I would be a lender. I just knew that I would be in the financial industry. I excelled in math in high school, did really well in math in college. I was a comptroller of my fraternity. So I knew that I would do something with numbers. And so it turns out I had a friend, a fraternity brother who came back and visited, and he said, "I'm in the mortgage business. You should consider it." And so when I got out of school, I started looking for a job, and I found one at Investors in Mortgage. So it kind of just spawned from there.
Well, so tell us, exactly what you do. What is it that you do, Paige?
So I'm a mortgage loan officer, a mortgage loan originator, and I generate loans. I'm one of the top producers in my company, and then I lead by example. So I've got 8 loan officers that work for me, and I help them meet the needs of our consumers in their marketplace, and we rock and roll, and we produce. We're one of the top producing firms in our marketplace. We rock.
You do rock. I mean, your numbers you're way up there. So tell us, because you're the branch manager and you produce a ton and you manage these people. What was the progression for you? How long have you been at CNF? And yeah.
So I started with Investors Home Mortgage. I was there for 10 years. I moved into that role, and then an opportunity became available when I think I shared that in the story, that Brian McKernan, the president of CNF Mortgage, now president, was spotting me weightlifting and talked me into leaving the role I had at the previous company and taking the role of a branch manager for his company. So that's how I ended up with eventually CNF Mortgage Corporation, and it's been a great ride ever since. And in terms of surrounding yourself with good people and having production be what it's all about, I've been able to accomplish that because I've got the sound people that support me. So I've got a 25-year assistant veteran that does what she does and helps me produce these loans. I've got 2 30-year seasoned processors that process the loans for us. So, and we knock out an incredible volume. So I'm excited about where this path is going. The market doesn't scare me, and we're really ready to accept the challenges that are coming. So,
we were talking earlier, and I love your mindset. And, we were talking about with Lotus spreadsheets. Tell us, how did you end up that first step for lending?
So I just happened to I needed another credit because I didn't like taking 18 hours every semester. In my situation, it was actually quarters back then in tech. And so it's a tri-quarter system, and I needed more hours. So I said, well, I'll take this Lotus class. It's a spreadsheet class, and it was one of the newest things out there at the time. And because I took that class, it turned out I got the job at Investors Home Mortgage, reporting to senior management. And I would bring in reports. They go, well, can you take it back and tweak it and write the program to do blah, blah, blah? And I'd say, yeah, I can do that. So I go do that. Next thing you know, hey, you want a beer? And I'm like, sure, I want a beer. And before you know it, they were like, would you like to be a loan originator? And I said, I would love to be a loan originator. So I jumped in head first, and here I am 37 years later. So.
a few loans later. Um,
Yeah, a few of
uh, so what's been the biggest challenge for you, in lending or maybe in leadership, because you're a leader as well? Like, what's been most challenging?
so in my 27 years of managing, yeah, I would have to say the COVID years, the 2 years we just came through, they they were probably the most challenging, draining, and wonderful, you know, experiences all rolled into one. Because we had um, multiple changes coming from Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. We had multiple changes coming from investor overlays. We had industry um, changes happening because courthouses weren't opening, because settlement agents were trying to figure out how to handle a closing. And we just had to work with all of that. And we just reached out to all our partners and kind of just made it happen. And, a huge shout out to my company, because they helped turn our company on a dime and made it so that we could do the volume that we did and serve the community while dealing with COVID. And we did it, in my opinion, the best. We fought through that, and in 2 years did over 3 billion. In 2 years, did over 3 billion in loans. So
Wow. That's,
yeah.
that's a lot of loans. Um, what?
And let's say half of that production was in the Richmond market, because we've got 5 or 6 branches right here in this specialized location. That's where our headquarters is. And a lot of that was done in Richmond. So over half.
Wow. So what's been most rewarding with all of that? So, yeah.
I've said this from the get-go. I love working with first-time home buyers. And the reason I do is they so much appreciate what you do for them. The experience that you share with them, the holding of their hands to get them to understand they need to know the whys. Everybody, why this, why that, why this, why that. And you need to hold their hands and help them understand those whys, because that's what the deal is. And so explaining the whys helps them understand. And then they're so appreciative. And that in itself rolls into creating your customers for life. And for me, it's worked out really well. So I'm blessed.
I would say so. What sets you apart, like makes you different, do you think?
So what sets me apart is, after having done it and after having trained so many people over the years, I know the right questions to ask. And so asking the right questions and probing alleviates a high percentage, probably well over 90%. I would say close to 99% of all the surprises that pop up last minute. And if you can alleviate those surprises, your world is a lot better. The customer's world is better. The realtor's world is better. The settlement agent's world is better. And we all benefit from it because we're creating customers for life. So,
I've had the privilege and honor of interviewing like over 400 real producer agents. And the number one thing I hear is like, it's most important that it just doesn't blow up the deal. And it sounds like with all the experience you have and everything that you've done, like you just don't blow up deals, like
we have very little fallout. So,
yeah.
And blessed because of that. So.
Well, so how do you all find clients? Like, you've been in the industry a nice long time. Like, how do you find clients now?
So a large portion of my clients are repeat customers and their referrals. So I've got in a CRM, which we probably didn't start till halfway through my career, over 4,500 customers. And so that's one of my sources. But, really the stronger sources would be referral partners. So realtors, attorneys, accountants, HR directors, and then friends, family, and just all the networking I do. I constantly, and I recommend this to everyone, when you have opportunities to network and put yourself out there, the number one thing is just make sure people know what you do. I mean, nobody wants to be that person that, gosh, if I'd only known you were in real estate, gosh, if I'd only known you were that mortgage lender, I would have called you, but I'm closing on my house tomorrow. You know, you don't want that. So you just got to get out there and make sure everybody knows what you do and share that with other people. And it helps. So network.
I thank you. That is some good wisdom right there. Why is it important to work with you and with CNF? Like, why is it important?
Well, there aren't too many companies that could have done what we did during the COVID years. And we're still in COVID because there are different variants that pop out right now. But I guess I'll reach over here and grab this little thing. If you can see it.
Hey, Top Workplace 2022.
Richmond Times Dispatch. So, you know, we do it right. We have our employees love us. We have very little turnover. I've got 2 30-year plus veterans that have worked with me, one of them for over 30 years. And then the other one was the processor for the president of our company. So I would say that, you know, and back in the day, I actually competed against the president of our company. So Brian and I went toe to toe, and I didn't even know who he was. I was like, "Who's this guy, Brian McKernan? Who's this guy, Brian McKernan?" Next thing I know, he's spotting me on a bench press, and he goes, "Hey, I'm Brian McKernan." I'm like, "Dude, I keep running into you everywhere."
That's all. Hey, meant to be.
That's right. It is.
What are you focused on right now? Like accomplishing this year, next few years? Like what's important to you?
So, you know, I'm focused on navigating this interest rate market. And so, how do you navigate the market? And you navigate it by doing some of the things I just said, constantly networking, constantly putting yourself out there. But it also comes down to having the right support system. The president of my company, having been a loan originator before, he set up the company infrastructure wise to have the mentality that you're going to serve your community. And that's what we do. And I think we do it the best. I mean, to have done the volume that we did in those 2 years and still maintain 30 to 45 day turnarounds when the industry was doing 90 to 120 day turnarounds. I mean, it's almost miracle-like. It really is. And so we knew a disaster recovery plan to have laptops to be able to help people work remotely. And we did it almost instantaneously. It was an amazing feat. It really was.
You know, in this interesting marketplace, are you all still recruiting? Like, what does that look like for you?
I am recruiting. So, you know, we've got portfolio product that our bank. So CNF Mortgage was formed in 1995. Our bank, our parent company, was formed in 1927. So they're a small community bank. We're a mid-sized mortgage company in the United States, and they love us, and so they support us. And you know, in times like this, that's when you need specialty products, and we offer those. So we've got portfolio products that help the consumer adapt to what's happening in the marketplace, these interest rates that are going bazonkers. And so how do you overcome that? We've got specialty products that help navigate that. So from a recruitment standpoint, I would say, if you're unhappy where you are, I'm open to having conversation with other originators, some of my peer loan officers, and saying, hey, we've got the stability, we've got the infrastructure, we've got what you need, and we've got product, because our company wants to do production. That's what we're all about. CNF Mortgage is solely a mortgage lender, first mortgage lender. That's all we do.
That's a pretty great answer right there. So tell me, you know, like what has contributed to your success? Maybe like a habit, something that you would contribute a lot of your success to. What is that for you?
So I shared a little bit about asking the right questions. So, but I have to have the opportunity to talk to the customer. And too often, um, a coworker, a family member, somebody will get in the ear of the consumer and make it so that they are sidetracked and don't listen to their real estate agent or their referral partner that is trying to direct them to me. And really, all I ask or recommend is that you get permission for me to call them rather than giving them my card, rather than just saying, "Oh, I've got this person that is really good. I'd like for you to talk to them." But then they talk to their coworker and they get redirected. So don't let that happen. Make sure your loan officer, in my case, look me. Make sure I have the permission to call them. I'll make the phone call. I'll track them down. I'll create the relationship and I'll ask the right questions. And I'll make it so that the consumer is happy because I have a track record of doing it. So,
That's it's funny when I ask that question, like that's a fantastic answer. And um, make sure you give him permission to call. I like it. What is one piece of advice that served you really well when working with realtors?
I would say don't make it about the numbers. I would say that the consumer can filter through and understand that if you're trying to make a sale, if you're trying to close a deal, they can filter through that. They don't understand. They want to feel like there's somebody that you're trying to serve. So make it about serving the consumer, because if you do that, the numbers will come, the dollars will come. Just focus on serving them. That to me has made it so that I get business time and time again. I mean, I shared with you earlier before the podcast that I had a customer call me up and say, "Hey, I've got a coworker that I want to send to you." And the reason they're doing that is because they had a great experience and they didn't feel like a number. So I would say to all realtors, don't make it about the numbers. Make it about serving your customer and fulfilling their needs. If you do that, it'll come back to you time and time again.
That's some good advice. Do you have any like quotes or mantras that you'd like to share? Like I'd love to hear. I think we read some of the same books and things too. So please,
You
like what
do.
quote or mantra? Yeah.
So I would suggest it. I'm not a big reader. I love books on audio. So, but if you want a short read, Who Moved My Cheese? Because your blocks of cheese, and same thing in the mortgage side, our blocks of cheese are being moved. I mean, who expected interest rates to jump from the threes and even in twos at one point, the threes at the beginning of this year to in the mid sevens? Nobody. And so, and can you get interest rates lower? Yeah, but your cheese has moved. So figure out how to navigate this market. And what you need most, in my opinion, is you need a strong lender that knows how to ask the right questions, how to service that customer, and how to make your referral shine. Because in the end, you want to hear from them. And my goal, my number one goal, is to make it so your customer tells you, "Thank you for referring me to Page."
Paige, tell us about your family. Like, I like to hear the real deal about the person. Tell us about your family. And I mean, you shared a personal goal that you've just crushed this year with me earlier. Feel free if you want to share that too. Like, tell us a little about your family and
Sure.
maybe a goal crushing that you've been doing this year.
Okay. Um, I've got I've got my wife of 37 years. We just celebrated our anniversary last week. So that was pretty awesome. Um, and then I've got my son, Berkeley, and he's got a 4-year-old daughter. And then I've got my daughter, Kirby, and she's up in Arlington, Virginia, and she's killing it up there. She's a superstar with the work that she does. So I'm very proud of both kids. And then I've got a dog named Duncan. Duncan loves mommy and daddy. and he sleeps with us. Oftentimes I'll wake up and I'll look over and he sits on the pillow beside my wife. And he's adorable. So he's spoiled rotten.
Paige, thank you for sharing that with us. And I feel like that is inspirational. And, thank you for being a part of Real Producers. We really appreciate you. And if
Sure.
y'all haven't read his story in the July issue, make sure you do. And if you haven't given him a shot, make sure you give Paige a shot. And, thanks a lot, Paige.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.